Hello students. Now today we are going to learn the next topic of information technology. Myself Professor Vibhavari Javle, and here of our presentation. First, the website layers. What actually HTML does? If we only go with HTML, what is cascade? CSS, the cascading style sheet, and what is CSS in HTML. Now see these are the website layers. First one, behavior represented or enrolled in a JavaScript. The presentation is enclosed while using the CSS, and the last, the actual content required to make that website are being encoded while using the HTML. So why should you separate the layers? So when you are creating the web page, its structure should be relegated to your HTML, the visual styles to the CSS, and the behaviors to the scripts. Some of the benefits of separating the layers are: we can share resources, then it helps to give the faster downloads. The multi-person team should work on it. It increases the accessibility, and it gives the backward compatibility. So when I said that it gives the multi-person team, so that means it allows the files to be checked and out to ensure that everyone is working. When I talk about it increases the accessibility, that means external style sheets and the script files are more accessible to the people and to the browsers. And it increases the backward compatibility. It means a site that is designed with the separate development layers is more likely to be the backward compatible, because the browsers and the devices that can't use the certain CSS styles or that have JavaScript disabled can still view in the HTML. Now, what actually HTML does? HTML is known as the structure layer. The structure or the content layer of the web page is the underlying HTML code of that page. So just as the house frame creates a strong foundation upon which the rest of the house is built, the solid foundation of the HTML creates a platform upon which the website can be created. So this structure layer is where you store all the content that your customers want to read or look at. HTML structure can consist of the text, images, and it includes the hyperlink that visitors will use to navigate around the website. Every aspect of a site's content should be represented in this structure layer, that means the HTML code. Now, if we only go with the HTML, so now I'm just going to explain that if we are not taking or the second layer like CSS or the third layer like JavaScript in our program to make the website, then how does it work? HTML works as HTML consists of the series of short codes that typed into the text file by the site author. So these are the tags. The text is then saved as the HTML file and viewed through the browser like Internet Explorer or any other browsers. Writing your own HTML entails using the tags, so those are correctly to create your vision. See, if you are only going to see the HTML, so then for representing the separate fonts, we just need to include the tags for that each and every presentation we require. For example, if we require to represent the particular text in a bold manner, so for that reason we require to include the B tag over there in between that the text. So that means the B tag open, the text, and the B tag close. If we are going to add tag for each and every feature over the text and images and alignment, such as see here, if we are going to add the tags for each and every feature over the text, images, and alignment, and if we require to changes made in one tag, it may be reflect in others too sometimes. So it create the code more clumsy again the task and adversely affects on the usability of the web pages or the website. And see here, if we made some modifications of the design of the websites are very more difficult and boring task, as it involves manually editing every HTML page. So these are like the one of the disadvantages we can say of the HTML, if that it can create only static and the plain pages. So if we need dynamic pages, then HTML is not useful. Need to write a lot of code for making the simple web pages. Security features are not good in HTML also. If we need to write the long code for making the web page, then it produces more complexity. So these are, I have explained certain disadvantages of the. Now I'm going to show you that providing the support for the multiple browsers was difficult task. If you are going to only code in the HTML, so it may be get difficulty to open that page in different browsers. So by default, the basic features are being executed while using the HTML code. As you can see here, that internet in front of the Internet Explorer sign, I have assigned the green signal. So that means the basic tags, the mandatory the tags and the features are being supported by the IE, that means Internet Explorer, and but we have to check these tags, these features on the various browsers also. So here we just need to check the CBT test over the HTML code. CBT means the cross browser testing. CBT and the practice is for that of making sure that the websites and the web pages are work across an acceptable number of the web browsers. As a web developer, it is your responsibility to make sure that not only do your project work, but they work for all of your users, no matter what browser, device, or additional assistive tools they are using. You need to think about. And the difference browsers other than the one or two that you use regularly on your devices, including slightly older browsers that some people might still be using, so which don't support all the latest shiniest CSS and the JavaScript features. So different devices with different capabilities, from the latest and greatest tablets and the smartphones through the smart TVs right down to cheap tablets and even older feature phones that may run the browsers with the limited capabilities. The people with disabilities who use the web with the aid of the assistive technologies like screen readers, or don't use a mouse. Some people use only the keyboard. So for that people, so this code or the web page or the web, that particular the website should be seen successfully on each and every browser. Now we are going to start our CSS part, and CSS means cascading style sheet. But before that, I am going to explain what is the cascade. It is nothing but the mass of something so that falls or hangs in a copious quantities, or the large number or the amount of something occurring at the same time. I can say that it is the something onto succession of others. For example, like the teachers who are able to the teachers who are able to cascade their experience effectively. So it may be one of the example for representing or explaining the this term cascade. Our cascading style sheet. Here I'm going to show you the several flow of the information. If we have information, see this chart. If we have information or idea to make the interactive web page or the website, we can divide it into the content, that means the contextual information, and the appearance oriented information. So how the web page should look like. From the contextual information we can create the HTML document, and from the appearance oriented information we can generate the styles separately by using the CSS document. And these two documents, so that means the HTML document and the CSS document, should be linked with each other and run this through the web browser, and then it is being accessed by, or the user should be able to read or so get that the web page more attractively or effectively if we do apply the CSS document along with the HTML. Is explanation of HTML and the CSS link. So how there is a link in between the HTML and the CSS link? As all of you know that CSS stands for cascading style sheets. CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on the screen, on paper, or in other media. CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. External styles or external style sheets are stored in the CSS files. As you can see here, here is the content, and all the content are included or represented by the HTML document, and but the presentation and the various features we require to apply on the text. So these are known are the styles. So these styles are enclosed in the separate CSS document. Now I am gonna explain you that what is CSS in HTML. CSS describes, or CSS rules the set of the rules over the styles, and these are CSS is nothing but the cascading style sheets. It contains the rules for the presentation of the HTML. In this presentation, I am going to show you the HTML code plus the CSS, the n number of styles we can apply on the several number of HTML code, and to make the simple web page. And this experiment is I am going to show you, so whenever our practical is going to be started. CSS was introduced to keep the presentation information separate from the HTML markup language. So that means we can say the HTML language is the content, and it is the structured layer. Here I am going to show you now how to include the various styles in your separate CSS file, or how can you assign the CSS. For that purpose you have to learn the CSS syntax. Here I am going to show you the first example for that. First example, here I have explained the P is the selector. Selector means it is the tag. The P tag I have named that it is going to be used to enclose the paragraph type tag, right? So here on the statement inside that P tag, the P tag open and close, I just need to apply this property and it's the value. So for that purpose you need to set the property and the value, and this combination is known as the declaration of your selector. So if you require to print the text in a blue color, so that text or the statement enclose while using the P tag open, P tag close, so then you can enroll these styles in your CSS. And for that reason here I have shown you the syntax to apply the CSS on your P tag. Here I have assigned the only single property and its respective value on the P tag. If you require to apply various properties and its the particular value on the single tag, so that means the text or the sentence included that tag. So for that reason I am going to show you the CSS syntax for the multiple properties you require to set. Here I have mentioned one example. Now my selector is in terms of the h1 tag, so that means there is some text or a certain sentence inside the h1 tag open and h1 tag close, and but I just applied the two features over that the content inside the h1 tag in terms of the color and the font size of the text or the sentence inside the h1 tag. For that the property we again require to set its respective values. For example, I need to set the color of the text red, and I need to increase the font size is equal to 12 px. The px stands for the pixels. Okay, so these are the the combination of the property and the value, and this combination is known as the declaration. So here in this CSS syntax for the h1 tag, I declared the two properties and its respective the values. So here is the basic syntax we always require to set in your CSS documents. So we can say that CSS rule sets are consist of the selector and the declaration block. The selector points to the HTML element you want to style, and the declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by the semicolons. Okay, so each declaration includes the CSS property name and its respective value, and it's separated by the colon. I have explained all the basic and the foundation level information of the website. It's each layers like HTML layer, CSS layer, and the JavaScript layer. Then I have explained in detail the CSS, and we have learned the CSS, the basic syntax. And in my next lecture, we are going to learn the various types of the CSS and along with the examples. Thank you.